Hello friends, welcome back to Pathshala. As in previous class, I discussed the blood flow through the heart. So we learned that first left and right auricle filled with blood, then it pumps blood into ventricle, and then ventricle also pumps the blood into dorsal aorta and pulmonary artery. So the left auricle, so the auricles, both the auricles and both the ventricles contracts and relaxes in a rhythmic motion. So this rhythmic motion of heart generates the heartbeat. So the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart to pump the blood throughout our body is known as heartbeat. So today our topic is heartbeat, and we will also discuss some other topics also. The first topic is heartbeat. When the heart muscles contracts, it is known as systole, and when it relaxes, it is known as diastole. First, and this heart rate or heartbeat is in normal person, in an adult normal person, it is 72 times per minute. In normal condition, in normal person, an average heartbeat is 72 times per minute. Means in a minute, heart, the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart takes 72 times per minute. Then if we exercise a lot, then our heartbeat also increases. It is nearly about 190 to 100 to 120 times per minute, because when we do exercise, our body needs much more energy, and to get this energy we also need much more oxygen. So due to transport this oxygen, the heart also the contraction and relaxation, rhythmic contraction and relaxation of heart also increases. So that is why the heartbeat also increases, and to normalize the body's condition and to normalize the energy requirement, the heartbeat increases to nearly 90 to 120 times per minute according to the need. So the rhythmic contraction and relaxation includes, or the heartbeat includes series of events. So the first event is the contraction of arteries. So when arteries, first event is, so the very first event is contraction, or rather I say the systole of both art and both auricles, both auricles, means left auricle and right auricle. So first what happened is, pulmonary vein filled oxygenated blood or into the left auricle, and the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava pour its blood content into right auricle. So the right auricle fills with blood. After that the auricle contracts to supply its blood into the ventricle. So the first event is contraction and or the systole. Contraction, event of contraction is known as systole, and the event of relaxation is known as diastole. So the contraction or systole of both auricles that takes place is about 0.15 seconds. Next event is when both the ventricles are filled with blood, then it also contracts to send its blood content into either dorsal aorta or in pulmonary artery. So contraction or systole of both ventricle. It takes 0.30 seconds. Third event is when the contraction of auricle and contraction of ventricle occurs. After that, both the four chambers or all the four chambers relaxes or expands to fill with blood. So the relaxation period is about 0.40 second long. So, and this relaxation period, also known as general pause. In this relaxation period or in general pause, what happened? The four chamber, especially the auricles, actually the auricles filled with blood and the ventricle completely relaxes. So it takes 0.40 second. The total time period time of a single heartbeat is 0.15 plus 0.30 plus 0.40 second means 0.85 seconds. So total time for a single heartbeat is 0.85 seconds, and if we calculate the heartbeat in a minute, it will come heartbeat in minutes, 1 minute, then it will come 72 times. So in 1 minute heart beats 72 times. This rhythmic contraction and relaxation means the heartbeat is controlled naturally by a natural pacemaker that is located in the outer wall of the right auricle, and this natural pacemaker is known as SA node. The natural pacemaker is known as SA node, or rather I say the sinoatrial node. SA node or sinoatrial node. It is located at the walls of the right atrium, and it is actually the cluster of a muscular cells that contracts and relaxes rhythmically, and it contraction started the contraction of both the auricles. If in a person this SA node stops working or don't perform its action rhythmically, then that person have to replace a artificial pacemaker, or that person has to fit a artificial pacemaker in his or her heart by operation. So the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of sinoatrial node is maintained by the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is that kind of nervous system which controls its actions autonomously, means we don't have any control in its action. So the rhythmic contraction, or rather I say the heartbeat, is controlled by the SA node or sinoatrial node, which is under autonomic nervous system control. And the in 1 minute total heartbeat is 72 times, and the and one single heartbeat takes 0.85 seconds. Next topic we will discuss is the heart sound. So there are actually two kind of sounds produces in heart. So next topic is heart sounds. There are two kinds of sounds produced in our heart. First one is lub and the second one is dub. First one is lub and the second one is dub. And this sound can be heard by a special instrument that is known as stethoscope. I think you all heard this name stethoscope. Doctors use this stethoscope to measure or to listen heartbeat, or to listen that heart actually works well or not. By hearing these sounds, one can easily detect, or a doctor can easily detect if that person's heart beats normally or not. So two kinds of sound, that is lub and dub, is produced by the valves that situated in heart. So the first sound, the lub sound. Lub sound produced when the arteries, both the arteries contracts and the blood fills into the ventricles, and the closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valve produces the lub sound. So the first sound, or the lub sound, produced by closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves together. When the bicuspid and tricuspid valve closes together, it produces a sound. Means when we shut our door, it produces a kind of sound. Also, the valves present in our heart, when it closes, it produces a similar kind of sound. So the lub sound is produced by the closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valve. It is actually a low pitched sound, but its duration is long. So the low pitched longer duration sound produced by both the tricuspid and bicuspid valve produces the lub sound. Now let us discuss the second sound, that is dub sound. Dub sound is produced by both the semilunar valves that are present between the left ventricle and the dorsal aorta, and the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery. So when both the semilunar valves closes, it produces the dub sound. So the dub sound produces when the closure of both semilunar valves occur, and this dub sound is highly pitched or high pitched but short in duration. So the dub sound is very short in duration but highly pitched, and it is the dub sound is produced by the closure of both semilunar valves. The next topic that we discuss is pulse. When we go to doctors or when we visit doctors, they actually feel our wrist, they actually press our wrist and feel the rhythmic contraction of our radial artery. This is the radial artery that present in our wrist. So next topic is pulse. Pulse means when the blood pumps the blood into the artery, or when the rhythmic contraction and relaxation occur in heart, the artery or the dorsal aorta first carries the blood, and the dorsal aorta then branched off into many arteries, and the arteries branched off into arterioles, and the arterioles again branched off to capillaries. So when the heart beats or when the heart contracts, the blood supplied in the artery, or rather I say when the left ventricle contracts, it supplies blood to the artery. So when radial artery and the rhythmic contraction of this ventricle means its contraction and relaxation also regulates the blood flow in the artery. So pulse measured in the wrist area in radial artery. Pulse can be measured in any artery, but as the radial artery is superficial in position than other arteries, so it is easy to count the pulse rate in radial artery. Pulse rate is similar than the heartbeat, means in 1 minute the pulse rate is 72 times. But when we do exercise, when we run for a distance quickly, then our pulse rate increases to near about 140 to 150 times per minute. But in normal case or in normal person case, in an average the average pulse rate is 72 times in 1 minute. And next we discuss the blood pressure. So the next topic is blood pressure. So the blood pressure is the pressure exerted by the blood in the arterial walls is known as the blood pressure. When the left ventricle contracts, it forces the blood to enter into the dorsal aorta, and the blood is in high pressure. The blood actually flows in high pressure motion. So the high pressure of blood exerts a definite, or this high velocity of blood exerts definite pressure into the arterial walls. So we can measure the blood pressure by a special type of equipment or a special type of machine and this machine is known as sphygmomanometer. So the blood pressure measuring machine is known as sphygmomanometer, but the heartbeat measuring machine is known as stethoscope. So what happened is, when the arteries, there is actually high pressure always exists in arteries than in vein. The blood pressure in vein is always lower than the arteries. So what first happened is, the left auricle the left auricle first contracts. We measure blood pressure in arteries, so we only include this left ventricle, or we only discuss the case of the left ventricle part. So when left ventricle contracts, the blood forcefully enters into the dorsal aorta, and the contraction of left ventricle is known as systolic pressure. Means when left ventricle contracts, the blood enters into the dorsal aorta in high pressure condition, and this pressure that exerted by the blood in dorsal aorta or the arterial wall is known as the systolic pressure. In a normal person or normal adult person, the average systolic pressure is 120 millimeter per mercury or per Hg. And when the ventricles relaxes or full of blood, or the relaxation of ventricles, or when the ventricles full of blood, it is known as diastolic pressure. When the ventricles relaxes, it is known as, or the relaxation period is known as the diastolic pressure, and the diastolic pressure in normal adult person is 80 millimeter per mercury. So if we say that that the blood pressure in a normal person, so the BP in normal adult is 120 by 80 millimeter per Hg. So this is the normal blood pressure in a normal adult is 120 per 80 millimeter per Hg. If the blood pressure rises above this level, this is known as hypertension. Means when, due to some conditions, like when the artery walls contracts very first, or when the artery is there is some constriction in arterioles, then the blood pressure rises. Means if there is some kind of blockage or some kind of what I say, some kind of constriction or some kind of problems occurs in arterioles, then the arterial pressure or the pressure in arteries increased. So this and that condition, the BP rises above this level. That condition is known as hypertension. But when the BP in decreases below this level, means decreases below 120 per 80 millimeter per Hg level, that condition is known as hypotension. Both hypertension and hypotension are dangerous to human being. If the hypertension continues or pursues, and when and it rises above, far above this level, then a sudden jerk makes the arterioles to break, and if the arteries tears, then it may lead to death. So to the blood pressure normal is 120 per 80 millimeter per Hg, and the contraction of left ventricle systolic pressure, that is 120, and the relaxation of ventricle causes the diastolic pressure, that is 80 millimeter per Hg, and the blood pressure is measured by sphygmomanometer. So thank you so much for today's session. I hope you will enjoy this session, and we will meet in next session. Thank you so much.